We see the promise of clean energy everywhere, right? Sleek electric cars, shiny solar panels, powerful batteries. But this bright green future, it's built on a foundation that's a little complicated. It's a foundation of critical minerals that are kicking off a whole new global power struggle. So today, we're going to dive into how the race for these minerals is literally redrawing the map of the 21st century. This quote right here, it just nails the paradox of this whole transition. We think of it as something clean, almost weightless. But the reality is, it's a massive rematerialization. We aren't getting rid of our need for extracted resources. We're just swapping one addiction, hydrocarbons like oil, for a brand new one. And this whole rematerialization thing, it is completely redrawing the geopolitical map. The power brokers of the 20th century, the ones who controlled the oil, well, they might not be the ones in the driver's seat for our green future. So what does this new map actually look like? Okay, so at its very core, this is the deal we're making. We're shifting away from an energy system built on oil, which, was spread across dozens of countries, to one that relies on stuff like lithium and cobalt. And what's really wild is just how concentrated this new supply chain is. Honestly, it makes the old oil map look almost quaintly diverse.
Just let that sink in for a second. More than half of the entire planet's accessible lithium is locked up inside just 3 countries: Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. I mean, that extreme concentration creates an immediate and very obvious point of vulnerability. It's a classic supply chain choke point. But believe it or not, the story gets even more concentrated from here.
Because look, digging the raw material out of the ground, that's just the first step. The real power, the real bottleneck is in what comes next, that super complex chemical process of turning raw ore into the battery-grade materials that actually power our world. And this, right here, is where the picture becomes crystal clear. So while countries like Australia are the biggest miners of raw lithium and South America has the largest reserves, it's China that absolutely dominates that critical midstream. This wasn't an accident. Through decades of really focused industrial strategy, they've managed to capture somewhere between 60 and 80% of their refining capacity. And this dominance, it isn't just a lithium story. You look at cobalt, you look at graphite, rare earths, all totally essential for this energy transition, and the story is exactly the same. China controls the refining. This creates a really profound strategic imbalance, basically forcing the entire world's green ambitions through one single, incredibly powerful bottleneck. So in response to this, the countries that do have the raw materials are starting to push back. It's a movement called resource nationalism. They're looking at this skyrocketing demand and basically saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't want to just be a quarry for the rest of the world. We want a bigger piece of the pie. And just so we're clear, this isn't some abstract theoretical idea. Countries are putting this into practice right now. We're seeing this surge in export controls, new licensing rules, even total bans on raw materials and processing tech. Every single one of these actions just adds another layer of tension and risk to the whole global supply chain. So where does this all lead? Well, it feels like we're at a fork in the road with 2 very different potential futures. The first one is a bit of a cautionary tale, a world where these tensions just spiral out of control. We'll call this scenario the brittle grid. In the brittle grid, the world basically fractures into these competing blocks. Nations start hoarding resources, they fiercely protect their technology, and they see the energy transition as a zero-sum game. The goal isn't our collective climate security anymore, it's about individual mineral independence, no matter the cost. And a world built like this is just incredibly fragile. It's full of vulnerabilities. You could easily see mineral cartels, like an OPEC for lithium, weaponizing supply. You could get technological balkanization, where different regions use totally incompatible battery standards, killing the dream of a universal EV market. The irony is, everyone's pursuit of security ends up creating insecurity for all. But, and this is a big but, that future is not inevitable. The whole philosophy of the brittle grid, all that competition, hoarding, fragility, it can be flipped on its head by a totally different approach, one that's built on cooperation, circularity, and resilience. And that brings us to our second, much more hopeful path, the distributed electrolyte. In this scenario, we basically innovate our way around the bottleneck, creating a fundamentally more resilient and secure energy system for absolutely everyone. So how do we actually get there? Well, it's not about finding one single magic solution. It's about building this future on two really powerful ideas. First, we stop fighting over just one mineral by diversifying our technology. And second, we stop throwing away all these valuable materials by creating a truly circular economy.
This radical diversification idea starts with a simple recognition. Not every single battery needs lithium. For massive grid storage, we can use batteries made from superabundant sodium. For high-performance electric cars, we can develop solid-state batteries that use less lithium and give you more range. See? Just by matching the right chemistry to the right job, we relieve all this immense political pressure on any single resource.
Now, this second pillar is just as transformative. It's called urban mining. This is about treating our own cities as the mines of the future. By using digital battery passports to track what's inside every battery, we can turn what used to be a flood of waste into a strategic reserve. And with advanced recycling, we can recover over 95% of the critical materials, creating a secure domestic supply chain. How cool is that? And when you combine these two strategies, diversifying our tech and building a circular economy, the whole geopolitical landscape just changes completely. They work together to slash our dependencies, create real domestic resource security, and ultimately, they foster a much more cooperative global environment that's focused on innovation instead of just extraction. So, there they are, two completely different paths branching out from this exact moment, a fragmented, brittle future or a resilient, distributed one. But here's the key. Neither one is our destiny. The path we actually take is being decided by the choices we're all making right now. And this really forces us to rethink what resource security even means. The old 20th century idea was all about owning the ground, about fortified silos and physical control. The new reality for the 21st century is that true security comes from having systems that are flexible, diversified, and cooperative. Resilience isn't found in walls, it's found in networks. This leaves us with a few absolutely crucial questions. Can we innovate our way out of this problem faster than we get bogged down in competition? Will we have the foresight to actually design for recycling and reuse from day one? And maybe most importantly, how do we make sure that the communities where these minerals come from become true partners and not just sacrifice zones? Ultimately, this is the choice that we're all facing. The technology for a cleaner future, it's here, but the geology and the politics that hold it all up are messy and complex. So, whether this transition leads us to a more secure and sustainable world, or just trades one resource conflict for another, well, that's the path we are choosing to forge today.